We're going to start off with just a very brief summary slide, and then we're going to, as I said, at the agenda, we're going to dive into the kind of the four tenets and kind of what this kind of means for each of those. So if we think about Starburst and Immuta in a mesh, we can think about Starburst providing that SQL access point to data. And it's likely a mesh you would have for individual data products. You may have a number of output ports or a number of access patterns. And clearly at Starburst, we would see Starburst being the appropriate SQL engine, and you may have other engines that also access that same data. And we'll come on to a little bit more about that momentarily. But if we think about that kind of mesh data plane, if you will, what we have here is we have our domains, and each domain is responsible for creating a number of data products. And the data product could represent or be associated with one or more data sets. And so what we're really providing from a Starburst perspective is kind of that access pattern, the kind of data wherever it may reside, and also the kind of metadata that makes a data set more like a data product. So that's kind of where Starburst is fitting in this picture. And then Sumit, if you'd like to talk about the Immuta part.
Yeah, so to position Immuta in here, that we call the mesh policy plane. So there's a couple areas: authoring, management, and tracking. And on the right, the visuals are you'll see these throughout the presentation, but these boxes represent a box is maybe think of maybe like a source table, a data set, some kind of table, and the rows and columns are effectively like if you see in red. The data set, we're maybe doing some kind of segmentation where you're only showing the data for a certain country or geography or whatever the rules define. And then infrastructure, when you see those blue, that might be some column controls and we're masking some sensitive information. And yellow are maybe cell level or other kinds of things. But when you think about the policy plane, we're effectively managing and filtering data that feeds into the data sets and propagates throughout the Starburst kind of all the way through the data products. And just kind of the reason we have data set and domain or infrastructure, if you think about a data set in a domain, an example earlier, J in finance is restricted to see data in the US. So we hide the data that's not in the US. And at an infrastructure level, maybe all the data is provisioned where no one can see PII. So, all those rules are propagated up. And you need, a way to manage that. So we look at authoring and management. How do we enable more stakeholders to manage these filters and rules, and then tracking, like how do you, if someone asks you who accessed PI in the last 30 days for the purpose of fraud detection, you need to be able to answer those questions, across your infrastructure. I think they call it a supervisory plane or maybe even by domain. And so, we want to kind of provide some more, I think, put together and combine. I think it provides a really practical way to get started in the mesh journey that we're going to talk about here.